This film is about a savage, unstable, crazy, psychopathic serial killer.
Don't spoil it. No, you can say it. It's fine.
Is it autobiographical?
I don't have any corpses in my...
That's good to know.
cellar.
How many corpses do you have in your cellar?
Interesting. Maybe two.
Two.
But just in the walls.
Just two.
Only in the walls.
Okay, that's good. That's a relief. Okay. You're not going to add me to it, are you?
No one else.
Okay.
That's what
that's
motivated
it.
me.
Good luck. Okay, I'm back. Really. You are just joking, yeah? She's joking.
We never know.
We won't know.
We won't know.
Unless German news reports come out about this. But who knows?
Off your croissant bites?
I did.
Successfully.
Yes. My non-vegan croissant
That's
bites.
a shame.
Is that the way you say crumbs in Germany? Bites?
No. It's
No.
just what came to my mind.
I thought it was a little German quip there.
No.
Okay.
We say Krümel.
It's
It's actually the same as crumbs, yeah.
all right.
It's,
It is Saturday, 26th of May, and Ireland has said yes. Ulster still says no, and we're on Sandymount Strand here for no budget, and I'm with Jannine Benkhardt.
yes, that's right.
Benkhardt, I
I'm
got
glad
it
that
right.
you know my name.
Right, first time. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Jannine? Okay, whether,
Well, I have
whether
to.
you are or are not a photographer, that's controversial, but
It is
you can
like
explain.
I like to do some photography. Some people say I'm good in it. Some say I'm not.
I'm willing to say you're good in it.
Yeah, like whatever I am, I'm just a crazy woman. I think who had the plan to make a movie, and that's what I did.
And you kind of have to be crazy to make a film anyway, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
You'll either be crazy beforehand or afterwards, after all of the organisation stuff, and we'll talk about that. But, I mean, photography does affect filming, obviously. So,
Yeah.
with a good eye for photography, it helped in the making this film.
Definitely.
Sure.
If you have an eye for photography, and if you have the knowledge about how you want to have the picture framed, how you want to have the actors, and like in what place, how you want all those little tiny details, and they're like maybe flowers or trees or whatever. Like there's so much you have to think about, and if you have that eye for photography, I think that it really helps you
Yeah.
to create good cinematography, and also of course the right communication with the cameraman, with the DOP, and all that. So it really helps, yeah.
Yeah, and we're actually here to talk about your latest film, which is Chimes, right? And I noticed all of those things actually in the film because the cinematography is very powerful in it. So you have one scene particularly where there's a blue kind of portion of the frame and then a red portion. There's going to be no spoilers here, but yeah, so you do pay attention to the colours and the cinematography in it. Was that
I'm
deliberate?
glad that you noticed. I paid a lot of attention to little details, and colors are very affect the whole outcome of it.
Yeah.
So I gave my cast, I gave my character certain colors, and I paid attention
In costume, yeah.
not only in costume,
Yeah.
but in all those little details. So if you watch the movie if you really watch the movie and you have an eye on the little details and the background of it and all that stuff, then you will find that everything, like there's nothing that wasn't worth a thought.
All right.
So
it's deliberate. What motivated you to write it?
What motivated me was that I was doing some research about the serial killers, work-related.
Hey, Mr. Moon Man, shine your light on me.
A serial killer.
Hey, Mr.
Serial killers are that fascinating because their brains work differently. So what fascinates us about them is how can they be that extreme? How can they do something we would never ever do in our lives? How can they kill another person? So you were responsible for everything that happens. Everyone is kind of fascinated by different things because we would never allow ourselves to do this. Every time something is extreme to us and different, we are fascinated from that. Not many people are serial killers. No one would do this. No one would be having joy in killing someone else. The question is, where does the evil start? So I think the evil starts even in tiny things that we're going to do in our daily routines. I think in a suppressive way we do. I think that everyone wants to go for extremes,
Is this based on real stories?
Yeah, it's not based on one real story. It's actually based on really in-depth research.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I had very in-depth research. I was informing myself a lot about this topic, and I had a look into several lives of several serial killers.
Yeah.
So this is not just the life of one killer. It's actually a combination. It's like a lot of killers coming together,
Yeah.
and they are my killer, so to speak. So a lot of killers
Yeah.
are going to be my killer at the end.
Yeah.
It is based on real stories, but it's not that there's that one killer that I portrayed in my movie. It's like it's an outcome of a lot of lives,
Yeah.
so to speak.
And like, your character isn't one-dimensional. He's not just a one-dimensional monster, right? And I mean, that's deliberate, is it? You want to show that he's more than just a killer.
That's a question I think that we're gonna have to ask ourselves in the end. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people who do a lot of research on this, who read a lot about that, and I had a very, as I was saying, very in-depth research on this. I was talking to people that, I was talking to psychologists, to forensic people and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And in the
So you
end,
put a lot of
sometimes
research into this
I
film,
did,
yeah?
Yeah.
Fair
So I
play.
think in the end, a lot of people who listen to all those stories, if they just listen to the side of the serial killer and they listen to the lives that they had before, they maybe feel sorry for those people. I don't want to feel sorry for those people.
Yeah.
But there's no killer that didn't have a hard childhood.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is there other circumstances that create the evil inside of us?
Yes, yeah.
Or is it something that's given even before we are born? So is it something that makes us evil, or are we evil from the beginning?
Is it nature versus nurture?
Yes, I think this is really important because, of course, there are people and they're going to experience bad things in their lives, but they don't turn out to be a serial killer.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on it, is that there's something that's different in the brains of serial killers or in murders or people who do crimes in general.
The moon man shine on me.
You think he looks for his victims in churches?
What happened?
Let me go.
Where is she, Paul?
For the first time in my life, I felt something.
It sounds like you did a lot of sort of in-depth research into the psychology behind it as well. So, and was that an interesting aspect of it as a writer of the film? And
It
the
was
director?
definitely, because you see that they don't work in a way that normal people work.
Yeah, yeah,
They work in a different way. So the question is not, you cannot compare them to normal people.
yeah.
You have to see how they work in general, how they work as an exception of normal society people.
The lighting was fantastic. I see Colm Sexton did some great work there.
You did, yeah?
Yeah, you can certainly see it in the outcome. And like, what was that like? Working with lighting and sound, and it was your first director role, was it?
Yeah, it's my first own movie that I did.
Yeah.
I was working on 2 feature and 2 short films
Oh,
as
yes.
an assistant
Yeah.
director before.
Yeah.
But it's the first time that I did everything myself, like directing, writing, producing, and kind of bringing people together, writing shot lists, like actually doing most of the stuff. So Colm did a great job on lighting.
Yeah, you can certainly see it.
I really had the luck that I had people who had a lot of skills and who were who got that I wanted to make a serious movie. I didn't just want to make a movie for the sake of it. I
Yeah.
really wanted to make something that is stuck in your head after that. But there's a song in that film, and it's going to stuck in your head, I think.
It does. It certainly does haunt
And
you.
it was in the head of everyone in the crew. So when we were walking around set, like everyone had that song in their head for a certain time.
Okay,
It's
where did that
crazy.
come from? That creepy song.
You just have to watch it first, I think.
Watch
But
it first.
it's composed just for that movie. So,
Really?
Yeah.
You composed that
No, I
creepy
didn't.
song?
That
Oh,
was actually Colm's brother Bernard, who also did the
Really?
music on that. Yes.
Colin
Bernard
Sexton's brother.
Bernard Sexton, yes.
Right. The whole thing of the chimes. Is that a metaphor? Where did you come from that? First of all, why is that the title? And all right, Fergus, note to self: cut out the spoiler.
Yeah.
The dealing with the different departments like the cinematography, the sound, and all that kind of stuff. How did you find that? Because you obviously got very much involved in those.
Yeah, it's a lot about organization.
Yeah.
So making a movie, we shot in general for 4 days.
4 days for the whole
4
thing?
4 days of shooting.
Yeah.
But the organization was going on
Yeah.
for months.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So until you have that finished, until you're ready to shoot, there's a lot of stuff going on before.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's about dealing right with that. It's about communicating with all the people involved, bringing them together, be together with them, discussing the issues that you have. And on set, he was great. He was always ahead of the shots that we took. So when we had a scene, and he was like, "Wait, we have to get this done. We have to get this done." Luckily, we had that shot list, so we were able to see that we don't have to miss something out. On set, you need to have the people who are gonna think, and who are gonna think with you, and who are able to have the same passion and effort and put that into the movie to make it all happen. Because you just have 4 days. It's not a lot of time.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to put it all in that tiny amount of time.
And I think in fairness, you can see that passion coming out in it. And the actors certainly were very good. I mean, you had Christina, who's a brilliant actor, and Martin as well there. And also the child. I think the child was a star, really. How did you find directing a child in a short film?
It was interesting because the child turned out to be actually the easiest one to
Really?
direct.
Yeah. I've actually found that
Maybe
before
it's
as
just
well,
because it's Finian Lennon-Duff, and he is a great little
Yeah.
actor.
Oh, he's really
very
good.
good. Because when I met him the first time, he was sitting in front of me for the audition. He had a script printed out, and he was absolutely aware of what he's doing because he read the script and he knew what he had to do. I think when you're a child and you're getting into the industry, you're taking things either very serious. If you want to have a serious career,
Yeah,
then you're going
yeah.
to take things very serious. And I think he just didn't want to make any mistakes, but he also knew that he is very good, I think.
Yeah.
He is very good.
Oh, he is.
And we worked good together. We met before for auditions. He got to know the actors. So then in the end, when we were shooting, it was just a question of how's the relationship between us on set, and is he going to get all the words that I'm saying to him? Does he understand what I'm going to tell him? And he did. So that was very good. I think all the relationships that I had, the working relationships that I had with the actors on set, was very good.
Yeah,
So I was
that's
lucky
great.
on that.
You can certainly see it. And Martin and Christina, they played the lead roles really well as well.
They did.
How was that in terms of selecting the cast and guiding them through the process? Did you?
It had a lot to do with organization.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a lot on that. Yeah, coming back to that. So being a producer seems to have been a massive help to you in making this, as well as being a director.
I think in short films it's different. If you're doing a short film and you wrote it and you direct it, then it's kind of you want to produce it as well,
Yeah.
because you want to have the best outcome. And if you're going to do it yourself, then you know what you're going to be confronted with.
Yeah, they did almost everything. I mean, you know.
Yeah, with the help of Christina Ryan as well, so we were
Oh,
gonna,
yes. Yeah.
produce it. There was a lot going on there, and in the end, it turned out to be great.
Yeah.
So
It is. Yeah, it's certainly very impressive. What's your plan for it once it's finished? It's nearly finished at this stage. It's
nearly
grading.
finished. There's some music things and
Yeah.
sound mix things that we're gonna have to fix. But in general, the movie is actually quite finished. So the picture's locked.
Great.
The color grading is done. There's only
Color
small
grading.
things, but it's ready for submissions, and we already
So now
submitted
it's
to
conquer the world.
some festivals.
Yeah. Which festivals are you planning to go?
A lot of festivals. Those are so many that I actually cannot. Sometimes, yeah. There's so many.
Yeah,
it's
there's thousands, and that's part of the problem, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's some specific genre of festivals
Mm-hmm.
which you might focus on. I mean, there's horror festivals. I know it's not a
It's
horror,
a question.
but
It's a question
you
if
know.
it's a horror film or because it's more
Yeah.
of a thriller.
yeah, it's not really
There
a
is
horror film.
blood, of course.
There is
but
a little bit of blood, but is this a spoiler? That it's vegan. Because vegan is so important to this character. Earlier we did meet a vegan activist, and that was interesting actually.
Yeah, it was interesting, yeah.
That was brilliant. I mean, you leapt out of the car and you were so delighted to see these vegans on the side of the street. So tell us
Yeah.
about that, even though actually initially I thought that would be totally irrelevant to this film. The more we were chatting on the way, it's kind of, you were talking about empathy. Being a vegan means you have empathy for sentient beings and all this kind of stuff, and psychopaths don't. And this whole thing of murder of animals.
There's a difference.
This always happens. You have a conversation off camera, and then we try to have it on camera.
Maybe you're just
And
gonna.
being a vegan, you are... Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a vegan yet. I'd like to be, but
You should try it then.
I should.
Yeah, the thing is with vegans, and some people ask me, you're gonna make a movie about serial killers, but you're vegan.
Yes.
First of all, the whole catering
That's a
was vegan.
snappy question.
Yeah, the whole catering was vegan. My lead actor was vegan, even though the fake.
Martin. Is
Yeah.
Christina?
No, she's not. But
Christina.
all the crew was vegan for those days.
Oh, I'd say that
So
had to
yeah,
be.
it was vegan catering, so it was good.
Christina
to
would
have
be
that.
too much into the sushi. That's
Well,
the
there's
problem.
also vegan sushi,
Is there?
of course.
Of course there is. Yes,
Yes.
you can just wrap it in the seaweed. Yeah.
That's what you always do with sushi.
Well,
isn't
yes,
it?
yeah,
but
but
you can just
you don't
use
have to put the
avocado
fish.
and
Yeah,
cucumber,
exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
Just use vegetables instead of fish.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you have it vegan. So try it.
What's the biggest thing you learned from making this short film? Because, I mean, presumably you'll make loads of other films and you'll probably learn a huge amount. What's the biggest thing you got from it, and stumbling blocks and stuff?
The biggest thing that I got from it is that when you start to make a movie and you have that idea in your head,
Yeah.
it's not a thing about having a good idea.
Mm.
The thing about making a movie is standing behind that idea every day. Every morning you wake up, you have to know that you're going to work on this, and you have to know that you're going to do everything to make this happen. So what I learned from this is persistency. It's just to work on this, even though I felt like so many times I felt like I cannot do this. It's too much. It's ridiculous to make this. But
Why
I
is
went
that?
on.
Why is that? What was
Be-
pushing it to the limit there?
Because you have to
Because I think every filmmaker
organize.
goes through it.
You
But
have to organize so many things.
yes, that's the head
You
wrapper.
have the idea, but then just to actually do it.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
the actual thing.
Yeah.
The thing is not to have just a good idea. The thing is just to go out there and make it happen.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
just doing it.
Yeah.
It's always like words don't count that much, but actions count a lot. And you just
Yeah.
have to go out there. So what I learned from this is never give up. Because then there was a certain point where I was like, okay, I just feel shit. I don't want to write this email. I feel like we're not going to do this because there's an issue. And then I was like, you just have to push it through. You just have to push it.
Good
you just
for
have to
you.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
And I just went through it, and then in the end, it was good. Every step that I took, and it was very hard sometimes.
Yeah,
Because
I've
you
no
felt
doubt.
like you have no motivation just to get up. Sometimes you are in an emotional state that is not good.
Yeah.
You're feeling there are just things going on in your life, and you feel like you don't want to get up. You actually want to cry, and I just felt like I'm going to separate myself into two bodies. If I'm sad, I can cry. Like I can be
You
sad.
cry right now?
It's fine. You can be totally depressed. You can be sad, whatever.
Yeah.
As long as you have the other side, and as the other side of you is going out there and gonna make your dreams come true, and as long as you're gonna go for your goals that you have. So sometimes I was sitting there when I wasn't feeling good, like crying, but still writing that email because
Yeah.
I just had to do it. And
That's
I was-
really a lesson for everybody who wants to make a film.
that was my biggest lesson.
Yeah,
that
just
there was
go-
something, and I had to bring it until an end. I was
Yeah.
starting this in October last year, and it's just coming to an end now. So the biggest thing I learned from it was persistency, I'd say, and go for my dreams.
Great lesson. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, apply to every film, or everything that you want to do, no matter what it is.
It was crazy, yeah. It was actually the most crazy experience I've ever made, because of the fact that I was responsible for everything and everyone, and I had to make every decision. I never had to make so many decisions in my life. That was crazy. And the thing is that what motivated me was that I knew that if I'm lazy and I'm not going to meet this or that guy, or if I'm not going to do this or that, I'm not going to do my movie in the end. So the biggest motivation for me was actually my own project. So there's no bigger motivation than something that you're going to put all of your passion in, because it's a product of yourself. It was kind of my baby, you know.
Yeah.
It was something that I just did for myself and also for other people. And you had not to only deal with yourself, you had to deal with a lot of other people as well. You had to motivate people as well. You had to you had to make a movie. I mean, that's a huge task.